Hello, everybody. Welcome to this webinar. I'm delighted to be here. I hope you have your coffee ready because it's an interesting topic to talk about, but there's a lot in it. I won't beat about the bush. There's a lot in it. So sit back, relax, and like Emma said, ask lots of questions, and I'll do my best to answer them. There's still a lot of things that are still not very clear. So I'll be honest with you, if I don't have the answer, I'll get back to you with the answer, okay? So let's get started. Let me see if I can. No, yeah. Okay, so what's the objective of the webinar? Like the advert said, I'll be going through what's required, what's high risk, and what to do next. Okay, so what's required? I'll start with the EU level, okay, because I think you need to understand the EU AI Act from that level, and then we'll move to a national level, like what is Ireland doing at the moment to get this in place, and then we'll look at SMEs. What is high risk? I go through the four different risk levels. There's one particular risk level that we'll be focusing mostly on, and that's high risk level. And then what to do next. So I'll identify which AI, so I'll help you identify which AI systems are in scope with the AI Act, because some of them, wouldn't really be in scope. They're kind of focusing on the high risk systems. And then I'll explore compliance obligations that you'll have. And I'll outline hopefully some practical steps to get you started if you haven't gotten started already. And as well, I have a few downloads for you. And like Emma said, there's a few polls. So I just want to kind of gather some information from you to understand, what are your pain points? And maybe we can do something after the webinar then, with that. So jumping straight in, the first poll, Emma, if that's okay with you, can we get the first poll up and running? Again, I'd like to be able to tailor this talk to the people on the call. So if I could just get a little bit of background on like what area or what industry you're in. So if you could give that to me, and we'll see then if we can try and answer some questions specifically for those industries. So you can see there now there's a poll up. So if you can just check one of the check marks there. If you can't see anything specific or your industry isn't there, then just check other. Or if you haven't started using AI yet, but you plan to use AI, then you can check the not using AI yet. I'm just trying to get an idea of who's on the call. So, okay. So is that done now, Emma, or what do I do with the poll?
So not everybody has answered. So I think 72% of participants have answered. That's fine.
All right.
Yeah. We can end the poll. So I think in the lead there is they're embedding AI. So it's 56% for product features. And then the next one would be marketing content generation, 44%.
Okay.
That's interesting. Probably ChatGPT all over the place there.
Yeah.
And then other. So the other doesn't have a checkbox, but you can put it into the chat if you want.
Absolutely.
Like if you want to type in what you're using it for, if it's very specific, and we can get to it. So I'll end the poll. So I suppose really what we're looking at there is people are using it for really everything you've mentioned, Maria.
Yeah. But you're saying product features, embedded AI, which is an interesting section. So I'll talk to that then.
Yeah, marketing content, and then chatbot screening, HR recruitment as well.
Yeah.
They're quite high.
Okay, great. Okay, that's good to know. Thanks, Emma. Oh, right. Yeah. So here are the results. Right. We can share those results afterwards as well.
Yeah. So I'm just sharing them there with the group, and we'll share them again at the end as well.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Great. Okay. Brilliant. Thanks, Emma. Moving on. So first of all, okay, so what is the AI Act? I'm sure we've all heard about it. It's the world's first comprehensive AI law. It came into effect on the 2nd of August in 2024. There was an awful lot of work up towards that, and we followed that. The people that were interested kind of followed that, and finally it came into effect in 2024. And it's a phased approach, so it didn't come fully into effect in 2024, in August 2024. There was other parts of the regulation that came in this February in 2025. There was more that came in then this August. And then next year, 2026, we have the high risk obligations coming in on the 2nd of August next year. So we have until that time to get, like Emma said, get our ducks in order and get compliance like really up and running. It's like the GDPR. So we have 8 years now under our belts with the GDPR. It is a risk-based framework like the GDPR. So the higher the risk your AI system poses, the more obligations you have under this regulation, okay? So I want to kind of just stress as well that the European Commission is very aware that there's a lot of SMEs in the European market. There's, the percentage of organizations would be SMEs, a high percentage. So SMEs are mentioned 38 times in the Act, okay? So they were thinking of SMEs when they wrote this Act, compared to 7 mentions of industry in the Act and 11 mentions of civil society. So again, another thing that's important to keep in mind is that it complements the AI, it complements the GDPR. So I know there's an awful lot of regulation coming at us at the moment, and I was just talking to Emma about that before we came on. But like the GDPR forms the foundation of all these other regulations coming. So it cannot contradict the GDPR. It has to work in tandem with the GDPR. So if you have GDPR compliance, and I'm sure, we've all kind of looked at that because we've had it for 8 years now, rest assured that your GDPR compliance will help you with the AI Act compliance as well, okay? So again, like the GDPR, the AI Act has a set of general principles, okay? So why do you think they have these general principles? Well, it's because the AI Act gets very specific about, generative AI systems, embedded AI systems and so on. But again, the AI is moving so fast. And there was a real kind of consciousness around the fact that AI is moving so fast that they can't really predict the AI systems of the future. So what they wanted to do was create a kind of a catch-all. So if the specific parts of the AI Act can't regulate future AI, then this is kind of like a safety net, and they can regulate AI systems based on these general principles. So if you look at the general principles, you'll see that they're very, very general. So you can kind of look at an AI system and go, is it human-centric? Does it protect fundamental rights? Okay, and if in the future there's an AI system that we can't regulate with the rest of the AI Act, we can hopefully regulate it with these general principles. So fundamental rights is a really important part of the AI Act. And public bodies, in certain instances, have to carry out what we call a fundamental rights impact assessment. If you're interested in that, we can talk about that later. Not on this talk, though, really, because again, there's just so much to get through. So fundamentally as well, AI systems have to be safe, they have to be secure, and they have to be robust. There's transparency and traceability requirements for your AI system, especially if it's high risk. Accountability and governance, very much like the GDPR. Something that's different to the GDPR is fairness, non-discrimination, and inclusiveness is very important, because we have the issue of biases coming up in AI systems that, the GDPR didn't really predict 8 years ago. Sustainability and environmental considerations are also very, very important, because AI systems take up so much energy, and so we have to be aware of your environmental considerations as well. Interoperability and regulatory coherence. Again, like I said, there's a lot of different regulations coming down the line, so AI systems have to take that into consideration as well. Proportionality and risk-based regulation it's also, like I said, like the GDPR, is a risk-based regulation, and proportionality is a big part of the Act, and we'll see that as we go through the slides. Okay, so I've said a few times now that the Act is actually risk-based. So the higher the risk your AI system is, the more obligations you have under the AI Act, but we have to understand exactly what they mean by risk in order to be able to assess risk. So in the Act, there's the definition of risk is the combination of, so the combination of the probability of an occurrence of harm, okay, with the severity of that harm. And that's Article 3 in the Act. So there's two variables there. So you're thinking about how likely is it that this occurrence of harm will happen with your AI system? And if it does happen, how severe is that harm going to be? And then you can kind of assess your level of risk based on that. So, and different rules apply to operators depending on the risk category of their system. So we'll go straight into the risk levels. So again, here's a nice little pyramid for you. There's 4 levels of risk. At the very top of the pyramid, there's, like I said, there's only a few of these, thankfully, of these kind of systems now that are seen as unacceptable risk by the EU. Then you have high risk, and then you have 2 lower kind of categories where most AI systems fall into, and that's limited risk and minimal risk. Unacceptable risk, as of February of this year, they have already been banned. So you're not allowed to have what is defined by the EU AI Act as unacceptable risk. They cannot no longer be on the European market. So it's important to understand what's unacceptable, because if you actually have a system that is, that could potentially fall underneath this category, you could be facing quite high fines, okay? Because the fines in the Act are even more severe than in the GDPR. Okay, so we can get up to 7% of your global turnover, annual global turnover, in the AI Act, as opposed to 4% for the GDPR. So, and we'll get into unacceptable risk in more detail in the next slides. Then, so the next level down is high risk lists or high risk systems. And this is where the AI Act really kind of comes into play, and it focuses very much so on what is seen as high risk systems. And again, I'll explain that in more detail later on. The limited risk level and the minimal risk level, a lot of chatbots would be in this level. And it's not that it doesn't look at these levels, but your requirements would be largely documentation and policies and so on. So the real focus of the AI Act is the high risk. So I would be, advising you to think about whether you have a high risk system in your organization or whether you're developing high risk AI systems. So going back to the banned category, so these are kind of AI systems that, to be honest, I'm quite happy they're banned in Europe. So you have things like AI systems that create or expand facial recognition databases. So organizations are no longer allowed to trawl through the web, collect your image, your facial image, and assign your name to that and put it in a database for no reason. You may think that this, never happens, but we had a case a few years ago. Clearview AI were gathering people's faces and putting them into their databases and selling it as a service. So that was stopped, and that was stopped actually under the GDPR. But then, with the AI Act, they made it very clear that these are no longer acceptable. These types of AI systems are no longer acceptable. Any kind of cognitive behavioral manipulation of people or specific vulnerable groups, such as, so an example of this would be any kind of AI system that tries to manipulate people subversively or unwittingly. For example, a voice-activated toy that can, encourage children to do risky behavior. We're talking about as well, like games and stuff like that may have like messages that wouldn't be the best for individuals and young people or vulnerable people. So be careful of that. If it's interpreted as cognitive behavioral manipulation, then it would be banned from the market. AI systems designed to protect a person's risk of committing a crime based solely on profiling or personality traits. So you're talking about the Minority Report there, if you've ever seen that movie. So you can't look at somebody and take in their personal features or their socioeconomic level or any kind of, features and then decide, okay, he's high risk of committing a crime. That's not allowed. AI systems that deploy subliminal techniques beyond a person's consciousness, or they use manipulative or deceptive techniques. And again, if it's interpreted as deceptive, then you're in trouble. So that example would be Cambridge Analytica. If you remember back in 2016, they were using kind of algorithms to try and persuade people to either vote left or right in the American in a number of elections. So they would be definitely considered banned in the EU now at this stage. So again, moving on to the high risk systems, and the rest of this talk will probably, we'll be looking at high risk systems more than any other level of risk. So high-risk systems are classified as high risk because they could have, the repercussions of them going wrong could have such profound impacts on, on Europeans or individuals or even organizations. So things like AI systems in critical infrastructure, like on road traffic. So, if they go wrong, you could cause accidents. Supply of water, gas, heating, electricity. You can understand yourself if an AI system fails, and as a result, a city or a nation doesn't have access to water or gas or heating or electricity, that can have serious implications. So they would be seen as high risk. Education and vocational training. Again, people get educated, it's important for them for their livelihoods, for getting employment. And so anything that kind of evaluates learning outcomes. So if you have an AI system that evaluates an individual's outcomes or results of their exams, then that would be classed as a high-risk system. Another high-risk system would be monitoring cheating. So again, these AI systems are not, they're not infallible. They do make mistakes, and they can have serious implications if you accuse somebody of cheating and they haven't actually cheated. It can affect the trust of people have in that person, their reputation, and so on, so that they would be classed as high-risk systems as well. So just think about that in your organization. You think about high-risk systems and you think, oh, that doesn't really apply to us, but you'd be surprised what systems can actually be classed as high risk. In the employment sector, we have any kind of worker management systems that assess people's performance in their work, or if they, these CV systems as well that kind of scan a lot of CVs and filter or prioritize CVs for interviews. They would be considered high risk as well. There was an example there, Upwork was accused of their system, their CV scanning system, being biased to people over 40. Amazon had another issue a few years back as well. They didn't like women over 50, so there's no chance of you getting a job if you were a woman and you were over 50. I'd be in trouble. So you kind of think of these things as kind of, benign. They're just like simple little applications that we use in everyday life, but they can have serious impacts on individuals, and so they're seen as high risk. Access to essential private services, public services or benefits. You can imagine, like, if you're entitled to child benefit and then the AI system makes a mistake and says, oh, you don't actually have any children, and you've committed fraud and we're going to throw you in jail. So that actually happened in Holland. You can Google the child benefit scandal, and it ended up bringing down the Dutch government in 2020. So I won't go into too much details about that, but there are real life examples of AI systems going wrong and causing massive. I mean, I think there was something like 26,000 people affected by that scandal in Holland. So they can cause serious damage to individuals. Any kind of creditworthiness evaluation as well. So if you're going for a mortgage and you don't understand why you're being refused a mortgage, and it's because the AI system says, you're not very trustworthy, or you don't have credit, they've made a mistake in your creditworthiness, that can have serious, you can't buy a house, So yeah, it's serious repercussions for individuals if the AI system gets it wrong. And that's why we always have to have human oversight. So, the AI system makes the decision, but there has to be a human in the loop that kind of looks at that decision and says, hang on a second, why is that so? So moving on. So I hope now that, high risk systems are fairly clear. And if you are now on the call and you're thinking to yourself, oh God, maybe we do actually have some high risk systems, there are obligations, and these obligations are coming into effect on the 2nd of August 2026. So I would say it's important now for you, if you haven't started already, it's important for you to really kind of understand, do we have are we working with high risk systems? Are we developing high risk systems? How many do we have? And what do we do about it? So you need to get a risk management system in place. So you need to be able to demonstrate, if you get audited, you need to be able to demonstrate that we have considered, we've identified the risks, we have categorized the risks, and we have taken measures to mitigate the risks, okay? So as well, if you're developing systems or if you're training your AI system, you have to be able to show that you have high quality data, you've done cleaning of your data, you've done your due process, and you've bias checked it as well. Okay, because we saw in the previous slide that biases can have serious effects. You have to have technical documentation around your AI system, and you have to keep all records. So make sure that you have at least 6 months technical documentation and records around your AI system. It's really important as well for you to ensure transparency for your users of the AI system. Again, this sounds very simple, and I'm sure you all know about the black box issue of AI systems, where these systems have been developed over years, and it becomes quite difficult to understand exactly how these systems come to their conclusions. But you have to try to the best of your ability to show the user the steps that you took to come up with the results that your AI system has come up with. So human oversight, and again, human oversight and accountability, that was in the GDPR. So it's just more emphasized in the AI Act. You have to be able to show that you didn't just put your data through the AI system and get the results and not check it and not do your due diligence and get a human to look at the data and see if it makes sense. And then there's accountability as well. You have to have accountability if something goes wrong. Cybersecurity and robustness, like every other IT system out there, you have to, you do your pen testing and all the different types of cybersecurity tests to ensure that the AI system can't be hijacked or jailbroken or whatever. Okay. So an interesting story is that, when the AI Act, back in 2023, we were trying to understand what's going on with the AI Act, when is it coming into effect and so on. And then along came these massive big ChatGPT models and so on, these generative AI systems. And they had already been working quite a lot on the AI Act. And they realized that, hey, hang on a second, there's this whole new kind of body of AI systems that we haven't actually legislated for in the AI Act. So there was a big push towards Christmas of 2023 to get this in the AI Act before it gets signed off. So they came up with this whole term called general purpose AI models. And it was a new term, and it was kind of again a catch-all term that represents like large language models, foundation models, all these types of terminology that we were hearing at the time. And they didn't want to go with any kind of private industry terminology because they knew that could change at any time. So they came up with their own kind of name for these models, and they call them general purpose AI models. So when you come up with a new term, you have to give a definition of what you mean by that term. So again, they say that a general purpose AI model is trained with a large amount of data using self-supervision at scale that displays significant generality and is capable of performing a wide range of distinct tasks, and that can be integrated into a variety of downstream systems or applications. So they're talking about, these large models, these large AI models that can be, and they may, these like organizations like OpenAI and Google may have developed these models for specific purposes, but then they're so large and they're so general that they can be applied to many, many different scenarios, maybe even scenarios that the developers of them hadn't foreseen. So what they're trying to do there is to say that, it's important that, that if you interpret these models in a different way, then there are implications for you as well. But they're trying to capture this whole idea of the very general, the fact that these are so general. These general GPA, they're called GPAI models under the AI Act. They're large models like ChatGPT and Google Gemini, and there's more of them coming on the market, month after month. But that's how these models are defined in the AI Act. Okay. So again, we have these kind of various different stakeholders in the AI Act, and you're going to hear about providers and you're going to hear about deployers, okay? And as well, very specifically as well, with these GPAI models, you have providers, and the providers would be people like Google and the OpenAI. So they would be the providers. And so what we mean by the providers is that they are essentially the developers of these models. And so as a result, if you're a developer of these models, and you put your brand on these models and you make them available to your customers, and then the customers in turn make them available to their customers, then you can understand how there would be a lot more obligations on these individuals than deployers, because deployers are simply the users of these systems. So the developers are under the Act, they're called providers, and the users are called deployers, okay? So under Article 25 of the AI Act, significant changes to the intended use of any AI system, such as deploying a general purpose tool like ChatGPT in a high-risk context like recruitment, could mean legally becoming its provider. This is a really important thing to consider, because if you're using ChatGPT in your organization and you think we're going to use this as the foundation of a service that we're going to provide to our customers, but you create the service in such a way that it could be deemed as unintended use, and you change the model to such an extent that it's a different type of offering, then you become the provider, and especially if you brand that and you make it your system. You become the provider, and as a result of becoming the provider, you have a lot more obligations under the AI Act as a provider. Okay, you assume the full regulatory responsibility for that system. If you don't change it considerably, you're still a deployer. Okay, and again, if anything here is not clear, then I'll try to explain it better for you in the questions and answers. Just looking at the time. Okay, so again, back in February of 2025, like I said, it's a phased approach. I'll have to move on as well because I think I'm talking too much. So AI literacy comes in. It came in February. So if you have a high-risk AI systems in your organization, that you are obliged to provide training and appropriate training and information and knowledge to your employees who use these AI systems to a sufficient level that they are competent in being able to use these AI systems. So this entails ensuring staff and other relevant persons have appropriate skills, knowledge, education, training, taking into account their respective rights and obligations, because again, workers have rights as well when considering these AI systems, because they could be affected by the results as well. So this is another thing to consider when you're getting your compliance plan in place. This is already in place since February of 2025. Okay, moving on. So, like I said, it's a phased approach. We had it coming into effect in 2024. In February, we had the banned unacceptable risks obligations coming in, and we had the AI literacy obligations. We had the codes of practice for general purpose AI models coming in June or July of this year. And from 2026 to 2027, we're looking at high-risk systems and phasing in the obligations there of high-risk systems. And then by 2030, we should have all of it done and dusted. And the last things to come into effect would be the embedded AI systems in larger IT systems. And there's a few of you on the call today, so that's your timeline for embedded AI systems that are already form part of a larger IT system, okay, by 2030. Okay, so the key takeaways. So I just want to do a very quick summary. I won't stay too long on this because we haven't even gotten to the national level yet. So who does it apply to? It applies to providers and deployers, and I've given you those definitions, but it also applies to importers and distributors and authorized representatives of AI systems. So any kind of AI system, even if you're an American company and you don't have you only have an authorized representative in Europe, you still have to abide by the EU AI Act, okay? Any kind of AI system that is in the EU market falls under the AI Act, okay? What does it apply to? So we have the definition of AI system, the AI system, and it was inspired by the OECD definition. So they're trying to keep consistency here to make sure that people understand whether they fall within or outside the definition of AI systems. And it's kind of a future-proofing approach as well to ensure that everybody kind of understands what exactly they mean by an AI system. Not just in Europe, but like for all OECD countries. And as well, it applies to all systems, including general purpose AI models. So which industries does it impact? It's industry agnostic. That's important to take into account. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. It's a horizontal framework, so it cuts across all industries, okay? And what are the requirements? So again, the requirements really depend on the level of risk that you have in your AI systems. And so, you know, the higher the risk, the more obligations you have. So now the EU AI Act then obliges every member state to set up a legal framework. And there are 4 kind of bodies or authorities that they're asking every member state to set up. So they've asked, like, they're looking for notifying authorities and notified bodies. They're looking for market surveillance authorities that we already have in the country. Most countries do. And then they're looking to put in place national competent authorities. And back just last month or in September, it was announced that Ireland will have 15 of these national competent authorities. And we already also have market surveillance authorities, and they have been designated as well. Notifying bodies, I'll get into in more detail in the next few slides, but that's the framework that we have in Ireland, okay? So we have 15 national competent authorities, and each national competent authority is responsible for their own kind of set of industries. And they're the ones that will be regulating the EU AI Act. So you can imagine, you know, for the GDPR, we have the Data Protection Authority, the Data Protection Commission. We have now, for the AI Act, we have 15 equivalent authorities that will be, you know, enforcing the AI Act. So it's a little bit more complicated. And as a result of that, in order for, you know, to ensure a streamlined communication between these 15 national competent authorities, they have created a single point of contact, okay? And that's also required under the EU AI Act. And for the moment, the single point of contact is the Department of Enterprise, Trade and Employment, but they are actually setting up a national AI office that will be the single point of contact. And it won't only be the coordinator for these 15 NCAs, but it will also communicate with Europe. And it will also communicate with stakeholders that are, you know, invested in the EU AI Act, or that are, you know, that need to be communicated with as well. So the plan is to have the National AI Office open and running by August 2026, okay? So like I said, in the 16th of September, the Minister for Enterprise Tour, I think that's Trade and Employment, I got that wrong maybe, Peter Burke confirmed the designation of 15 national competent authorities under the Act. Ireland is building a future where AI is transformative, trusted and transparent. We're balancing innovation with safeguards, ensuring AI works for people, not against them. So Ireland is one of the first to kind of announce their legal framework around the EU AI Act. And I think they're very eager to kind of set the path or be one of the leaders in this area. So it's a really good sign for everybody that's involved with the AI Act here in Ireland, because they're going to be open to interaction, to communication. They're going to want to move forward and be seen as the kind of the leaders in this field. So I would say to you, take advantage of this, because you have, and we're going to see further on into the talk, there's a number of things that, a number of points of contact that you can reach out to and get help from, okay? Not just a national level, but also there's a lot of good things happening in Europe, in Brussels as well, for SMEs. So I'm going backwards, sorry. So these slides will be shared with you at the end, okay? So I've kind of given you a table. I know it's very small text, and as well, the reason why I don't really want to get into too much detail about the national legal framework at the moment is because there's a lot of things still up in the air, okay? You have like national competent authorities that will be enforcing the AI Act, but then you have the market surveillance authorities as well that will be enforcing the Act. And we don't yet know which powers will be assigned. And there's a lot of overlap between the NCAs and the market surveillance authorities as well. So it's a little bit confusing. The only thing I will say is that you have the notifying authorities that will be doing the inspections. They'll be going out and they'll be doing the inspections of the AI systems. Or they're in charge of the inspections, the kind of the practical inspections of the AI systems, and they will be assigning notified bodies, and the notified bodies are the ones that will be going in and giving certifications to say that yes, you have passed, the requirements for the EU AI Act. So the notifying authorities are the ones that will be approving these notified bodies, and the notified bodies then are the ones that will be going in and actually doing the audits and so on. Okay, I hope that's clear. And again, I'm just trying to keep it as high level as possible. I mentioned to Emma that maybe further on down the line, when things get clearer, we can maybe have another webinar in the new year when we understand better who does what in the legal framework. But at the moment, I think it's important to know that we actually have this, the kind of the bare bones of the legal framework in place. So it always helps me with a kind of a visual interpretation instead of the table. The table is just literally for you to read later. But so what I always try and do is I try to understand exactly, how these things interact. So you have the EU AI Act at the European level. At the national level, then we have 15 sectoral bodies that are tasked with enforcing the AI Act. Within these 15 bodies, you have market surveillance authorities like the central bank. You have notifying authorities like the Health Products Regulatory Authority. So they already exist. So we're leveraging on existing expertise, which is great. And then you have these kind of fundamental rights bodies as well from Article 77. I haven't mentioned these so far because they don't really have any enforcing capabilities. What they do is that they get, people can go to them and say, I think my fundamental rights have been impacted by this organization with this AI system. They are then allowed to do investigations to check whether your fundamental rights are actually being impacted by this specific AI system. But then they have to hand it over. They have to hand those results over to the Market Surveillance Authority that will then do the formal investigation if it's seen to be actually the AI system is seen to be breaching the fundamental rights. So again, there's a lot of moving bodies here. There's a lot of moving parts, sorry. So just like understand that there is a legal framework in Ireland now at the moment, and they are working towards creating clarity. And like, so just see it as a kind of a skeleton, and they're trying to put the meat on the bones now at this stage. So I'm just going to leave it there because it can get quite complicated. I've been looking at this for some time, and it can be quite confusing. So moving on. Okay, so we're now hopefully at this stage, and I know it's kind of a whistle-stop tour, but hopefully at this stage you've kind of understood what we mean by high-risk systems and what we mean by minimal or limited systems. And if you're still unsure, then please let us know. But this is the second poll, and thank you, Emma, you're after putting up the poll here. Can you actually just let us know if you think you have a high-risk system in your organization? So then we can understand, how to better help you, and you can reach out to us afterwards. And if you're still unsure, then please just let us know as well. So I'll give you a minute or two to kind of think about this, and then we can have a look at the results. How did that go? Oh yeah, okay. Okay, so yeah, we're looking at minimal limited, which is good because you just, it's way less obligations if you have limited or minimal risk. There are some of you, 29%, that have high risk systems. So I would say to you, and again, 11% are unsure. So that's quite a good significant number. So hopefully this presentation has helped you. Now, the rest of the presentation, we're going to be looking at where you can go to get more information and to really get started on your if you haven't already gotten started, where you can go and what you need to do to get started with your compliance journey before the 2nd of August next year. So now we understand that a good portion of you are dealing with high risk systems. It would be really interesting to know where you guys are in terms of your compliance journey. Like, do you need basics? Do you need like inventories or policies? Are you in the progress of doing a gap analysis? Or are you actually implementing your compliance at the moment? Or are you ready? Are you already, compliant? So I don't know, Emma, on my side, there doesn't seem to be any answers.
Well, they're coming up now, Maria.
All right, okay.
I'll launch it just once it's completed. I have to end the poll to launch it, so.
Okay, yeah. So we'll just give it a minute.
Yeah, we have a couple of questions in there as well. I don't know if you wanted to just come to them towards the end.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll do my best to answer them.
Yeah.
And if I can't answer them, then I'll get back to you. So we have as well, I think, let's look, we've 15 minutes, so we better kind of move on. Okay, yeah, so a good 58% of you are actually at the policy stage or the inventory stage. 15% are at gap analysis stage, great. And you're implementing, brilliant, great. 4% of you are actually implementing and looking, working on your compliance. So, and then 23% of you are others. And if you want to, like Emma said, if you want to put details of what you're doing in the chat, then we can gather that information as well, and we can communicate afterwards, or even at questions and answers. Okay, brilliant. So again, so that's poll 3. So the takeaways for SMEs. So again, I have a download for you from Europe. So we have the European AI Office. They're working, in all fairness, I was in the conference 2 weeks ago in Brussels, the CEDPO conference, which is the Confederation of European Data Protection Organizations. So I represent Ireland in that organization, and they had their conference 2 weeks ago, a really great conference because there was loads of European commissioners there, and we literally got information from the horse's mouth. And they really are, and there were representatives from the AI office as well in Brussels, and they're working really hard to try and create clarity around the EU AI Act, especially for SMEs. There's an awful lot of legislation, like I said, coming down the line, and they are working very hard to get the AI Act and to kind of show how the AI Act interacts with the GDPR and how it interacts with all the other kind of regulation. And we were promised as well that there will be a set of guidelines coming about how the AI Act interacts with the GDPR, because there's a few things that need clarification there. So I would advise you to go up to EU Commission website, go to the AI office. They have a lot of initiatives going on. They have a lot of documentation and templates that you can download. They've promised going forward as well that they'll make it the documentation side of compliance as easy as possible for SMEs, because they'll provide all the templates that you simply just need to fill in the templates to become compliant in a lot of the areas of the EU AI Act. They have also assured us that the cost will be reduced according to the size of the organization. So that will help SMEs to remain competitive with these larger organizations that can just throw a lot of money at compliance. There's a whole network of regulatory sandboxes coming, and Ireland has to have their sandbox up and running by August of next year. So keep an eye on that. And as well, it's really good because SMEs get priority and they get free access to these sandboxes, not just the Irish one, but if you need to kind of have like testing, real world testing, you can actually, test at a network scale using all the other kind of sandboxes that will be set up by August next year. So it's not just access to the Irish one, but hopefully, it's intended that you will have access to the entire sandbox network. Like I said, there's a lot of guidance coming down the line. I would say to you, make sure that Enterprise Ireland and the AI office and hopefully the national AI office, but also the European AI office becomes your best friend, and the websites. Just keep checking updates and so on, and you'll understand what's coming down the line. Again, simplified documentation for SMEs. Let me see. So you have SMEs are to be included in the governance structure. So again, you have the European level AI office, and they're setting up at the moment, they're setting up an AI advisory forum, kind of to help them understand the technical aspects of AI. And I will be the representative from SEDPO on that. So, they're making sure that it's going to be a large enough forum that hopefully people can communicate with the people on that forum, and we can bring the issues to the AI office through the forums and so on. So hopefully that is going to be another thing that you'll be able to use. You can go onto the European websites as well, and you can check and verify that your AI system is high risk or not high risk. So there's tests and tools up there that you can use for self-assessment and checking your AI systems and so on. So I would just recommend for you all to just go there, and as well reach out to your EI and talk to them, because they're the ones that have been assigned in Ireland to help people with compliance. Okay, Enterprise Ireland. So examples again for SMEs. So you may think, high risk. I don't think we have anything in our organization, but like I said before, CV screenings are a big one. That would be high risk. But if you just have marketing and you're using AI generated ads, that would be seen as limited risk. If you have chatbots and so on, again, if it's just a simple chatbot with responses and so on, they usually fall within the limited risk category. But so if you're a manufacturing SME and you have a quality control system and you're using AI systems in your quality control, they could be deemed as high risk. Okay, so just reflect on that a little bit. Again, another poll. I promise this is the second last one. We have the last one as well, and I think hopefully the last one you'll find it quite interesting for you as well. But so what is your top challenge right now? And again, if these answers don't really answer properly your top challenge, then put your challenge in the comments, and we'll see if we can point you in the right direction for advice and help. So is it compliance and risk? Is it cost reduction? Is it workflow efficiency? Is it integrations of AI systems and so on? So we'll see how that goes. And again, we're kind of tight for time. So I'm happy to kind of have a look at the questions after the webinar as well and get back to you on that. So, okay, so compliance and risk is 48% there. Cost reduction is 13%. Workflow efficiency, again, yeah, 30%, quite high. And IT integration, yeah. So it's quite, compliance and risk would be the highest, but it's quite even across the others as well. So yeah, okay, great. Well, hopefully with the compliance and risk, we'll have something for you at the end that didn't help you get started. So supports for SMEs in Ireland, you have you have CEDAR, which is kind of the National AI Centre. It provides training and advice. John Lonsdale is the head of CEDAR, and he's very open to, he's very much in terms of with research, he's very close to the kind of practical side of research as opposed to the theoretical side of research. So I would encourage you to reach out to CEDAR. They're very welcoming and they're very open to helping. Enterprise Ireland, again, they can help you with providing funding, but they can also help you with understanding the AI Act and so on, and put you in contact with other people that can maybe help you on your journey. The Irish Computer Society, so I'm a director of the Irish Computer Society, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about that in the fifth poll. But as well, we have the Irish DPC. So the DPC, the Data Protection Commission, is now as well trying to understand, a DPO's role for understanding AI compliance and how it interacts with the GDPR. So if you have issues with data protection and your AI systems, I would say reach out to them. Again, it may take them a bit of time to get back to you, but they're very open to interactions, okay, and giving advice. At a European level, you have the AI Act Single Information Platform. Just Google that and you'll find there's a lot of information up there, especially for SMEs. You have the AI Pact, which is a great initiative. It's a two-pillar approach, which means, so if you sign up to the AI Act, the AI Pact, you become part of a network of community. So again, if you have a high-risk system, sign up to the Pact. You get access to webinars, information. They have a database of compliance documentation up there. The network they share what they're doing in terms of compliance and so on. So it's a good network to be in if you're trying to understand what's the easiest and most cost-effective way to become compliant with the AI Act. And as well, if you sign up, you kind of make a commitment to be compliant by August of next year. That may sound scary, but the European Commission have actually said that if you engage with them and if you do all the things that they're offering you to do and so on, they will take that into consideration if down the line, God forbid, something happens, and they'll understand that you're actually trying your best to become compliant. Okay, so I would again say reach out and show that you're on this journey. The EU AI Office, again, lots of guidance and information about sandboxes, and I'll give you the download that they have. They have an SME Small Businesses Guide to the AI Act that we'll get for you at the end of this webinar. And the EDPB and the EDPS, they promised us a guidance between the GDPR and the AI Act before next year, August next year. So the practical high-level steps that you can be doing, and again, this is in the checklist that you'll be getting at the end. Identify, the most important thing is identify, first of all, where your high-risk systems are in your organization. Map the risk level under the AI Act. you already have a compliance plan in place. So identify the gaps that you have and then work on those first. You have an obligation under the AI literacy obligation, so train your staff. There's a lot of information again on the European website, a lot of resources, database of compliance up there. So it's important to make sure that your staff are at the level that they need to be in order to work these AI systems. And again, seek support. Like I said, just make sure that you're actively complying. Ensure that your input data is accurate and complete. That has to be a very important part of your procedures. And as well, with AI, it's very important to keep monitoring because biases can creep in to AI systems over time and so on. So you have to keep monitoring, and you have to demonstrate that you're continuously monitoring for compliance as well. You have to have 6 months activity logs of the activity of your AI systems. Keep the logs. Actively involve, I think it's important to actively involve employees, and the employees are aware of the AI systems in your organization. And if you have like employee monitoring AI systems and so on, it can have an impact on them. So it's important that they're aware of this and have an open discussion with them and their representatives. So we're talking about union members there and so on. Develop and circulate the first thing you should do anyway is develop and circulate an ethical AI system or policy. And everybody in your organization should know where to be able to find that and understand what's in it. So the last poll is Poll 5, and this is a kind of a collaboration where Privacy Engine, further the Irish Computer Society, we are talking to Malcolm Byrne from the committee of the AI committee in the Oireachtas, and we're trying to understand, would it be of interest if we had kind of a feedback mechanism to, going forward, to understand what are the pain points, what is the immediate needs of SMEs. So if you could just let us know in the poll if this would be interesting to you or not, then we can, try our best and work towards getting this in place for you.
I have it up there now, Maria. It's just people are filling it out.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, if you're interested, you're just slightly interested, or if you're very interested, or even if you'd like to participate, because what would happen was I would be the chair of the special interest group in the Irish Computer Society. And so we would be a group of people working towards, again, ensuring a streamlined rolling out of the AI Act for organizations in Ireland, So just let us know if that would be interesting, or if you feel like you have your point of contact already and there's no need for it, it'd be interesting just to know. Okay, so 4% not interested, 28% slightly interested. Okay, good. And then 48% very interested. That's good news. And interested and willing to contribute. So yeah, that would be brilliant as well, because we need representatives, if we do actually do this. So that's great news. So I can take that information and share it with the powers that be and see what we can do, what we can get in place. So that's brilliant.